Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So it's been a while since my last news video, just trying to cover Netflix Avatar. Even in the kind of basic initial coverage I've done has been a bit chaotic. Still have so much more to do, but there is some news to cover here. So there is some Netflix Avatar news, which I'll get straight into here. So first of all is just the general reception. I think Rotten Tomatoes works as a nice kind of aggregator here. So you can see here it's currently at 59, but I've also seen quite a lot of time where it's been at 60%. So obviously 60 is the threshold where it's considered fresh, and it's just barely dropped into the quote-unquote rotten section. It's still, because it's so close to it, like it's basically the same thing, and obviously the critics always tend to be a little bit more negative on things than, of course, the audience. And as you can see here, the audience rating from thousands of ratings is 75. Now the percentage here is basically percentage of reviews that are positive, not necessarily based on kind of review score style thing, but still I think that that's more in line, where probably like 70%, the sort of 7 out of 10, I think has probably been in or around the average that I've kind of seen in terms of, yeah, that's the amount of kind of positive to negative reviews I've seen, and roughly where the review scores are. I think the kind of critic consensus that they have here on the site, to me, makes sense as a general, like, yeah, this is what this show is. Avatar: The Last Airbender serves as a solid live-action entry point into the beloved franchise, although it only sporadically recaptures the magic of its source material. And that's kind of very similar to what I've been saying. I think it's the right level that we, at the very least, needed. Could it have been better? Sure, but it's of an acceptable quality level to act as a good entry point, definitely. And then sporadically, change that depending on what your opinion is. Some people are going to feel like it barely ever does it. Some people will feel it more regularly captures the magic of the source material. But that's probably a decent word to overall capture the general feeling here of just like, yeah, these feel like reasonable scores to the point where I wanted to get book 2 and 3 and get confirmed for that. I think it would just be helpful overall for the franchise to have a complete live action across 3 seasons, and I think things will be better for them in a season 2. That it'll be easier for them to adapt. They'll learn a lot from the season 1, the feedback that they'll get here from season 1, and I think they'll just be in an overall much better position. So I hope Netflix don't see the maybe slightly maybe more negative than they maybe expected reception, especially maybe from critics and some fans, and view it as, oh, it's been a failure, when actually, 75% of people think it's pretty good. So that's just something I wanted to kind of make a brief note of in just terms of general reception. Moving on, the music from Takeshi Furukawa for Netflix Avatar is out. I'll link this below so you can find out all the different links here when you go in, and you could find all the links to it on Spotify, Apple Music, all these various different places. This will be linked below if you want to check it out. I have not had a chance to specifically listen to the music on its own. A few pieces definitely stood out from watching the episodes, but I definitely would need to listen to the soundtrack on its own. So there's just that. And then just very quickly, it's interesting to see some of the publishers. So you can see Dark Horse here offering 50% off on all of their digital stuff for Avatar and Korra in the terms of the comics, and they are celebrating the live action series by kind of having this sale. Similarly, Peak Beyond, aka basically Abrams, they are highlighting that the books are available if you are into live action Avatar. They're also highlighting this, and it brings up the question, are Avatar Studios going to make a big announcement? Are they going to ever say what they're up to take advantage of how many people are talking about Avatar? It would be very valuable, I think, for them to make some sort of a statement, like make it clear, hey, we've got a movie coming out October 2025, maybe release the name of the title for the movie, have some sort of a visual to make it very clear animated Avatar is coming back, because I still think there's a lot of confusion because there's no officially released imagery related to Avatar Studios. If they could fix that problem, the popularity of Avatar is basically like assured. So it's a big question of just, are they going to say something in any way soon to latch on to the Avatar hype that's here right now? I hope they do. That's basically the idea. Then we get into some book-related news. So first of all, upcoming release in 2 days, February 27th, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Heart of a Hero is released. This is another picture book along the same style as I Am Zuko, I Am Aang, and I Am Katara, which we'll talk about in a second. This is obviously a bigger one. It's 40 pages. It's a much bigger book. It's kind of going to be a big square hardcover book, and features some pretty nice art that we've seen before. Actually, if you click this link on Edelweiss listing for the book, you can actually look at all of the pages in the book if you are so interested. And there's some pretty nice stuff in here. It's obviously much more expensive than the I Am books, but if you are into this sort of picture book style stuff, this is coming out, and it's I guess the first book from this publisher, Little Brown Books. So just keep that one in mind if you're interested. Then we have to talk about I Am Katara because we have some preview pages. So this is basically, 6 preview pages like usual. Clearly from very early on in the book, probably actually the first 6 pages in a way. So yeah, Katara doing some waterbending in the Southern Water Tribe, very nice. Young Katara, young Sokka, and Gran, also very cute here. And then getting into the plot here, the boy in the iceberg moment, very cool. And then I guess this is just after Aang comes out of the Avatar state in 103. Definitely much more interested in the Katara book to see how they do some of her later book stuff. Like, are we going to get a Hama page related to bloodbending, that sort of thing. Very eager to see this one here because these are very cool books. I love the artist. Overall, it's just really good stuff, I think, these books, because the price is right and just seeing all the new art is very, very cool to see. That then brings us into this bit of news. There's actually 2 pieces of news related to this. So Rola Chang here on Instagram, she is the Chronicles of the Avatar cover artist, but she's done art for like international release DVD, Blu-ray sets, and of course has been featured in some of the calendars, which is kind of what we're talking about here. So the basic idea of this is one news story here is that she has released some unreleased art from basically what she calls a cancelled project, one of the calendars, and we have 5 of these pieces of art here. So we have Iroh, Roku, Jet, May, and Karuk. So let's just quickly look at the pieces of art so we can focus on the other stuff in just a second. So there's kind of, I think, 2 images on each of these. So you can see here, there's the full version of Iroh. Looks like he's maybe doing some sort of like fire skydiving, like he's coming out of the sky like a rocket here. It's really cool in the Order of the White Lotus outfit. Looks fantastic, definitely. But her art always does, so that's great to see. Then we have Roku, which is where a lot of the news actually comes from. So there's the normal image of Roku, and then here is with a bit of color. Also, I think looks great in terms of like ATLA era Roku, of course. Jet here falling from the trees with his hook sword. It looks fantastic. What else is there to really say here? It just does look really, really good. Here is May, and May in color. Really like this one here, the little almost blood pattern getting across like her whole knife work stuff. Very, very nice. And then of course Avatar Karuk. Very, very nice to see Karuk get a piece of art here. And this is why it's kind of very unfortunate that this new art didn't get into the product it was meant to be. But there's Karuk in color. Now, what is the situation here when it comes to cancelled and published? What's going on here? So she mentions here in all these, this is unpublished art of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a cancelled project, and it's from a calendar here. I believe on the Roku one is where most of this gets mentioned. Like, like people are surprised, like, hey, you're the cover artist. You're mentioning a piece of Roku art that's cancelled. Is the Roku book cancelled? Obviously, I think most of us know that that was never going to be the case. But no, she's like, no, this is calendar 2023, and they cancelled it because they wanted to do others. So, okay, there's the situation. These pieces of art are from the cancelled 2023 calendar. But wait, the 2023 calendar came out. That's this. And you'll note it's her art. This is a Rola Chang novel art and other art that she's done for like ATLA, for like the DVD sets and stuff like that. This is the 2023 calendar. So the book, the product was not cancelled, but obviously her supplying new art for the 2023 calendar, that aspect of the project was cancelled. And obviously the frustrating part for those of you who know about all the calendar stuff is that, of course, we ended up with a calendar that was basically a repeat of the 2022 calendar. Like, look how similar these covers are, just slightly different. And then looking on the back, you can see the lineups of art in both calendars is very, very similar. Only minor adjustments, basically just to account for the fact that, hey, the Yang Chen novel came out, that sort of thing. So it was a very frustrating situation, and especially because we have literally it in the description. So going back to an older video of mine, you can see that when the 2023 calendar was first solicited, it mentions having 12 new illustrations created especially for this calendar. And it mentions Ang, Karuk, Yue, Kiyoshi, and Yang Chen. And of course, in the final product, there is no Karuk or Yue art. And it obviously implies that she potentially also has a Yue piece of art to show off that we actually haven't seen yet. So that's a bit of an interesting one there. And just to really highlight that they did this is, like, you can see little taglines on these books. The one on the top is the 2023 one. It just says 13 illustrations, whereas the 2022 piece was 13 all new watercolor illustrations. Now, even technically for the 2022 one, not all of them were new for the calendar, but they were new in terms of a kind of a product released everywhere, because, like I said, they were kind of regional kind of versions of the kind of Blu-ray sets that some of this art first appeared in. So just a bit of a confusing situation where, like, the product came out, the product still has her art in it, it's just repeats of art that she had done for, like, other projects. So she got the 2022 and the 2023 calendar, but she was asked to make new pieces of art specifically for the 2023 calendar that they chose then to not use for whatever reason. And it's like, did she finish this project? Was she paid for doing this art? Why did they, if they had all of this art, not just put it in? And this is where you get into this idea of, like, does it work differently in terms of, like, using art that already exists in a different project versus this being art specifically made for a calendar? And is it like a payment kind of issue overall and stuff like that? Because interestingly, as you go through this and people kind of talk to her a little bit, she says, like, cancel art for me is great, fan art, I prefer it because it's mine. And I think she says something similar to this kind of at a later point, that she has kind of more freedom over it when she's just doing her own kind of like fan art style stuff. So I don't know, that's just a bit of a weird situation where, like, maybe people who better know about this stuff in the comments can kind of figure out what exactly the sequence is of, like, how exactly this all happened. But there is another piece of news related to this, and so I have that comment up here. Can't wait for the novel. And she replies saying, I didn't make the next novel cover. I think they changed another artist. This is calendar. So she's confirming there she is not doing the Roku cover art, because the cover art, I'm assuming, for Roku is going to be revealed maybe next month, maybe the month afterwards. She would have done it already if it's going to happen, and she hasn't. So there is going to be another artist doing the cover for The Reckoning of Roku. That's very, very interesting. So we have a new writer, we have a new cover artist now. And who knows, like, are we going to get a new audiobook narrator? Is Nancy Wu going to continue to do the Roku novel, or will they switch up the narrator? Because it is an interesting one in terms of, like, we went from having 4 books covering 2 female avatars, but now we're going into our first male avatar in a novel. So might they want to have a male audiobook narrator do that? That's an interesting kind of thing to consider. That might actually be kind of their approach there, is that they need someone who can do a really good Roku to do the audiobook narration. So that's just an interesting one to think about. But with regards to the cover art, I'm very interested, just from almost like a consistency point of view, to see how they do this in terms of, like, Roku is still Chronicles of the Avatar 5. Are they going to get a different artist that can do a similar style so it kind of matches up a little bit? Or are they going to be just okay with, hey, it's a new avatar, we're okay with a style switch. So are we going back to more kind of classic style Avatar art that maybe matches the animation a little bit? Or are we going to see a slightly different style come out? That's what really, really intrigues me, because I love show accurate art, but I like when we do get to see new styles as well. So interested to see what people think about this. And I kind of like that we know going in that it's not just going to be this massive surprise when we see the cover for Reckoning of Roku and we're like, whoa, it's completely different. What happened? At least we know now already what the situation actually is. And yeah, here is the comment that I was referencing before. She said, I can draw fan art in the future and then no one can control me, and getting across a little bit of idea of like, was the project a little bit too restrictive, or who knows? I don't want to speculate too much on that. But yeah, just some interesting stuff here. Some Instagram posts from one of the artists just presenting us some interesting pieces of information. Last but not least, I suppose, here we have some merchandise news. So the Nerdist had this article from like a week ago about some new U2's stuff that's coming out in relation to Appa and Momo. So U2's have these things called shoulder riders. Because in general, a lot of these products are basically plushes with magnets as like extra gimmicks. So in this case, the idea is like Momo is sitting on this little plush disc that has a magnet in it, and then Momo has a magnet. You put the disc on your shoulder under your like clothing, and then Momo goes on top, and that's how like they attach onto your shoulder. So it's a cool, interesting idea. Then they just have, I think these ones are just in general like stickies. They have magnets in them, and they can like attach together and attach onto stuff that's magnetic. So some interesting depictions of Appa and Momo. But certainly they are going all in on Appa and Momo here. Everything is about them. Maybe the timing is specifically for Netflix Avatar, with like the pre-order being up right now. Appa mug also. And yeah, you can see here they have all these products up on their website. And yeah, it's a pre-order. It will ship somewhere between June and July. So coming over the next couple of months. And I think all of these things individually cost $30. So again, U2s are not available in every single region for whatever reason. So just be aware of that, and that, yes, everything is like $30 as well. But it's cool. They are one of the few companies just continuously putting out new merch over the years, whereas a lot of places are much more hit and miss, of course. But that is basically it. I'll just briefly end with the idea that like we're potentially, once the Netflix Avatar hype dies down a little bit, I have a lot of coverage still to do on Netflix Avatar. So it's going to last a couple of weeks, obviously, of doing videos about that. But there is going to be a little bit of a gap between the next like significant like mainline piece of content, because we're still waiting for Avatar Studios to say something. They could, maybe, we'll see what happens. But of course, it's quite a while until Reckoning of Roku in July. It seems to be pretty much confirmed all across the place that, yeah, it's back to July, not August anymore. The Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer is the next Avatar comic, and that's August at the moment. Who knows if it will be delayed again. We do have the Mako comic, The Mystery of Pencon Island, but it has not been dated yet, so we're waiting any month to hear about when that one is actually coming out. I hope it makes it into the year. There is the Iroh RPG book, which the pre-order kind of obviously went up for. Only a few days left on that if you are waiting on that. The PDFs for that, I guess, will be going out at some point over the next few months. That might end up being the next new piece of proper content. But otherwise, we are just waiting for stuff to happen. There's other comics to announce in terms of Faith Aaron Hicks, Peter Wortman. We expect there to be another comic to follow up, basically this one, another one-shot. And they're probably getting into the range where they might even need to announce the next Korra comic at some point soon. And then we're just building up to the Comic-Cons, SDCC, NYCC. But then there's also like CinemaCon is something that's like happening that's not too far away. But like, will we actually get information out of it? And it all is ultimately back to, when are Avatar Studios going to say something to set up the 2025 hype? That's the big thing in terms of news at the moment. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on all of this. I suppose for me, probably the highlight news is just like, the calendar stuff, but also I suppose more specifically the idea of, different cover artist for the Roku novel. What are your thoughts on all of this stuff? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.